All right, what's up guys? In today's video, we're going to be talking about how to improve your aim in Call of Duty Warzone as well as Call of Duty Modern Warfare. We're going to be going over a bunch of the settings as well as talking about a bunch of different tips as well as talking about the different grips and attachments they have in this game that help with your overall recoil and all the different kind of things that can help getting the best recoil pattern possible. Basically, the tips I'm going to be recommending you guys is going to significantly help you improve your aim and help you get as close to getting aimbot as possible in Call of Duty Warzone. So if you guys do enjoy the video, you guys learn anything new, you guys want to leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. It is currently the month of April. Our goal is to gain 1,000 new subscribers this month. So if you guys want to help me hit that goal and subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it. Like I said, we're talking about how to improve your aim. We're going to be going over the settings first and then a bunch of different tips as well as what kind of things you can do in gunfights to help you improve your overall recoil, and then going over the specific attachments that help with your overall recoil. So the first and foremost, most important thing I've learned that people do not know about Warzone and Modern Warfare in specific is the aim response curve. This is a brand new setting. I believe was previously in Apex, has never been in COD. The biggest difference is how it affects your overall aim as far as like close, mid, and long range gunfights. You obviously have standard, linear, and dynamic. I personally play on dynamic because I feel like it allows me more free motion. I get when I move my joystick, it actually moves in game a little bit better than standard. And then linear is, in my opinion, will simplify it, is for sniping. If you move your joystick a little bit, it moves a little bit. If you move your joystick a lot, your aim moves a lot. It is purely for sniping. I found it a lot better when I was only sniping because you're getting the long range gunfights. And then standard is pretty much everything you know and love about Call of Duty. So you guys can see the little graph on the screen right now. You guys can see what linear looks like. You guys can see what dynamic looks like, and then standard. So as far as what you'll notice is the thumbstick movement. If you move your thumbstick a little bit, your aim is going to move a little bit. You guys will notice the middle section there. When your thumbstick's moving just a little bit, you know, you're pretty much average moving your thumbstick. The dynamic is going to allow you to have a lot more control, which the standard is going to have you a lot less control. So that is the one reason I did pick dynamic, is because I feel like it allows me, as a guy who has, I think I have pretty good aim and pretty good tracking, allows me more control, and I'm not being controlled by the aim assist. So it's somewhat closer to, you know, disabling the aim assist versus obviously standard. So the only real option here is dynamic or standard unless you literally only snipe. I definitely think standard is an excellent choice because it's not straying away from what you know and love. You're doing the same thing, the same settings for years. But if you want more control of your motion, you guys think you're a pretty good aimer, I would definitely recommend dynamic because you guys can see there. If you move your joysticks a little bit, it's definitely going to move a little bit. Specifically in Warzone, you're getting into a lot of long-range and mid-range gunfights, which that dynamic setting is going to help you a lot more at the mid-range. It's just the reason I chose it. And then the aim assist settings is very simple. You have standard, focusing, and precision. If you actually read the descriptions of them, focusing is supposed to be players that are new to controllers. Precision is supposed to be best for accurate players. In my personal opinion, focusing is too strong. It's basically like if you're blind and you can't see, you could still kill somebody. Precision is definitely best for new players. It's a little bit stronger than standard, which is obviously going to help you if you're new to controller, your first time playing Warzone. But the only thing you want to play is standard. It's pretty much normal. Precision is definitely going to help you lose out a lot more gunfights if you're familiar with the controller, because it's going to kick a lot harder. It's going to pull your aim a lot harder than the standard. So the next and most important thing is the ADS sensitivity. This is basically previously in Fortnite, which in my opinion definitely 100% made me have a lot better shot in Fortnite. What it allows you to do is slow down your sensitivity when you're aimed down sight only. So it doesn't help your hip fire, any of that stuff. Only when you're aimed down sight in a gunfight. The lower sensitivity is going to allow there to be less kick and allow you to have more control of your ADS. So I definitely would recommend playing anywhere from 0.65 to 0.8. 1.0 is normal. It just depends how confident you are as a shooter. I personally play 0.7 right now, just because I like a slower aim. I'm a bit of a slower player where I get into a lot more long range gunfights. If you're a bit of a more aggressive player, like I said, that's when you can switch it up and switch up to the 0.8. But now talking about one of the things that I've recently done my research on and tried to learn the best thing about and actually tested is, does crouching and proning actually improve your recoil? And to simplify the answer, proning on 75% of the guns massively increases your recoil pattern, if not makes it very minimal. and crouching on 75% of the guns does improve it. On a couple of the guns like the AK and a couple of other guns, crouching makes your recoil pattern worse, but you definitely want to be crouching. And the biggest thing for proning I learned is this is one of the best ways you can make your recoil pattern basically the least amount possible. If you're on height, you're on a high ground, you're not being sniped at, you know you have the ability to lay down, you can definitely 100% get a stabilization increase. There's also a significant decrease in your overall recoil pattern, and this is in specific for drop shotting. If you are in a one-on-one gunfight up close and you drop shot, which is crouching and then laying down, that is where your recoil is going to get massively increased. So definitely 100% would recommend drop shotting if you're in a close range fight, as well as mounting. In my experience, I found mounting 100% improves your recoil. I know there's a lot of new players who are new to Warzone, who are new to Call of Duty. Mounting was last in Call of Duty Ghosts, which was like 6 years ago. So definitely 100% also mount. And the next thing we're talking about is actual tips on how to basically improve your aim and help to improve your recoil pattern a lot. In specific, in Call of Duty Warzone and Modern Warfare, they have bullet velocity, where your bullets don't really aim exactly where you're shooting. Sometimes this is specific at longer ranges. The one thing I note, and which you guys will notice in a couple of fights that you're watching other people, you watch this video, a lot of players will track players in ahead. So if you're tracking somebody, you want to aim ahead of them if they're at a long distance, anywhere from like 50 meters plus. So definitely want to be aiming ahead of them because the bullet velocity is not shooting in a perfectly straight pattern. And then in the next thing we're talking about is strafing. If you're in a gunfight, you can actually strafe to help your overall aim. You guys can see a little gunfight I got in on the screen right now. The guy had high ground on me. I was completely in the open, and he moved to the right. Therefore, I strafed to the left to track it with my gun. And then when he moved back to his left, which was my right, you guys can see I moved back to my right, which allowed me to stay on his body. I was doing my best to hold my thumbstick with the right thumbstick and track it on the center of his body. And then obviously, if he's moving, I'm able to move with my left joystick to also still be able to track him and be able to hit him in the center of his chest. So I was focused on aiming for his chest. And when he moves, I match his movement, which also helps me harder to hit. So the thing is, specifically you'll note, is where to aim. A lot of the guns in this game do more damage to the chest. There's obviously a limb multiplier where if you hit them in the limbs, the arms, the legs, your damage goes down. So you definitely want to be aiming for the upper torso, basically from the belly button up, chest area, and obviously headshots. If you accidentally kick to the head, certain guns like the M13, a lot of these guns will have a massive damage increase to the head. So definitely want to be aiming for the center of the chest, right in the pec area, because you're going to get a massive damage increase, as well as obviously sometimes your gun will kick to the head. And then the last thing I want to talk about is the gun attachments, because a lot of people are brand new to Warzone and Modern Warfare. They're not completely familiar with what stability is, what stabilization is, and obviously what the recoil control is. Very simple to explain, but the biggest thing to note, you have guns like the Commando foregrip, you have the Tactical foregrip, and then you obviously have your Ranger foregrip. The Commando foregrip obviously helps with your stabilization, that with the muzzle brake. Then you obviously have the Tactical foregrip, and you also have a couple of your stocks, kind of like stocks help with your aiming stability. Aiming stability is your first shot accuracy. All guns have idle sway in this game. You guys can see a little clip on the screen now of what a gun looks like. Regular idle sway, no attachments on it, and then using the Tactical foregrip. I found this to be an excellent attachment because it 100% helps with your idle sway. A lot of the LMGs, a lot of the ARs have very minimal idle sway, but you have guns like the SMGs, and a couple of the ARs have a little bit worse idle sway. There's obviously some attachments like the rubberized grip tape and a bunch of other attachments that make your idle sway worse. So using a weapon attachment that helps the idle sway is definitely helps with your first shot accuracy and definitely 100% improve your aim. So like the Commando foregrip is the next attachment, the muzzle brake as well. They help with your stabilization. If you guys look at a recoil pattern, I'll showcase a picture on the screen now. Your guns normally will shoot in a straight pattern, but in certain situations, the bullets will sway left to right. The recoil stabilization makes it so your bullets will shoot in a straight, perfectly pattern. And then obviously the Commando foregrip also helps your aiming stability. So it's definitely an excellent attachment. And then the recoil control is obviously like that of the compensator, the Ranger foregrip. You have the rubberized grip tape. It basically just helps with your vertical recoil, making the reduction a little bit worse. And then, so the biggest thing to know about the recoil control, a lot of the attachments is specific to stats on which ones are actually the best. In my experience in testing them, the Ranger foregrip has in 90% of the guns the best recoil reduction as far as the underbarrel. Obviously in Warzone, I 100% recommend the monolithic suppressor on every single gun. But if you don't mind not using a silencer, the compensator on, I would say 90% of weapons as well, gives the best recoil reduction overall. It does have 2 negatives compared to the Ranger, which the negatives in my opinion are a little bit worse. But the compensator is an excellent attachment. But I usually almost run monolithic suppressors. So as far as what's best to stack these together, what I've recently started stacking is the rubberized grip tape, which helps with the vertical recoil. I stack that with the commando foregrip, which helps with the stabilization. Then obviously I help by putting the long barrel in there, which helps the recoil control as well. Vertical recoil goes down a lot, and then my stabilization goes up. So my kick is usually only straight up and down, which I have 2 attachments helping to make that vertical recoil as least possible, which is the easiest to control. So as far as what are the best attachments to run the best grips, I 100% recommend that commando foregrip as the #1 attachment to use, because all it does is help with your stabilization and your stability. The stabilization is probably the biggest factor in what makes your aim, your shots start missing. It makes your kick only vertical, which is the easiest part of the control. And then all it does is reduce your movement speed. So it has a bunch of positives for very minimal negatives. The tactical foregrip is definitely an excellent attachment as well. Only on specific guns that don't obviously have that best of idle sway. A lot of the top ARs have really good idle sway, like the Growl and the M4, so you definitely don't really need it, but it's definitely a 100% recommended attachment. And then try stacking the commando foregrip with the rubberized grip tape for sure, and it's definitely 100% going to help improve your aim. So that's pretty much it for today's video. Hopefully you guys learned something new. Hopefully everything I talked about in today's video is going to help you guys with your overall recoil control. I upload tons of class setups trying to discuss what is the actual best attachments to use on classes. So if you're looking for a specific gun, you want me to upload a class setup, a best class setup, best loadout for it, leave that in the comment section below. I do a lot of testing on these weapons to see which attachments are actually the best. So if you have any specific weapons you want a personal loadout on, comment that down below and I'll definitely upload a video on it. If you guys are still watching, you guys are new to the channel, you have not yet subscribed, make sure you guys join the Trap Squad. Leave a like in the video if you guys did enjoy. Make sure you guys use code Trapgod on all of your SCUF and GFUEL purchases. And I'll talk to you guys.
Good.